Movie recommendations. Alright, here we go. So I will be starting off with my favorite movies, which are Cloud Atlas, Bullet Train, Inception, Battle Royale, The Creator, Sonatine, Love Exposure, The Matrix, Predestination, The Ocean Series, My Own Private Idaho, Six Underground, Dead Leaves, Tomorrowland, Rogue One, Shirkers, White Noise, Captain EO, Tag, uh, pretty much. So, that's not all of them, but those are the ones that I like the most that I have found myself rewatching a ton. So, starting off, number one, Cloud Atlas, my favorite movie. This movie is six different stories over six different time periods, and it's extremely well done. I would say to advertise it, the characters are implied to be like what's it reincarnated, and so like you'll have the actors will play the parts of different characters in like different stories. So like you can see uh like certain actors will be playing different characters in different stories. It jumps back and forth between the stories, which makes it really engaging as well. The stories in themselves are each very interesting in their own right, um, and each story plays a major part of the next story, like in the timeline of events. And so, and they have a bunch of motifs that go through. Like they have a birthmark motif that goes through all the stories. They have the Cloud Atlas music piece that goes through like pretty much all the stories, and you can hear it like played in bars or like in the like a techno version or like a classical version. It's just really high concept, really good. Enjoy it a ton. It's my favorite movie. Um, yeah, it's based on a book too. So if you like to read books, you can look up that book. I bought it, but I haven't read it because I can't read books. Bullet Train. This movie is amazing. It's really good action. But the best part about it is the story. The story is insanely good. They jump from many different characters, each of which have a very strong reason for being pit against the other characters in this story, and they generally all clash with each other in some way, and their clashes are very intense and very fueled by like uh, their each of the characters' incentives, which makes the action hit way harder. It's like the best way to utilize that type of action where you have characters clash against each other. Amazing movie. Inception. I like this movie because uh, it's high concept and engaging and really entertaining as well. So basically, the idea of Inception is you can steal from people's subconscious through their dreams by infiltrating their dreams and then like subconsciously telling their subconscious while they're dreaming to like divulge their secrets. And so they do this in like a flashy way where they show like the character is actually like there in the dream interacting with the dreamer, and they just have a bunch of ideas like in the lore, and they like build upon their lore. So like there's a bunch of like the subconscious, it populates the dream, and so like if they start to figure out that they're dreaming, they will converge and attack whoever is infiltrating the dream. For example, the people who are trying to rob the subconscious of the secrets or whatever, they will attack. They will converge on them, and yeah, just a bunch of lore thing. It's really engaging and really entertaining. I recommend watching it. Battle Royale. This is a Japanese 2000 movie made in 2000. Um, I don't really know what to say. It's started off the Battle Royale like idea where there's like not 100, which is in most of the games, but there's a bunch of students and they get drafted into a death game where they have to fight to the death and only one can survive. So the Hunger Games, but before the Hunger Games, uh, was made, I guess. It was Battle Royale, and it's really engaging, interesting. The characters are good. They have good motives. Uh, it's just all around very interesting and really good movie. The creator, this is an AI war movie. So if you don't like that, you might not like this movie, but I like AI, so I like this movie quite a bit. Uh, its story is really good because it provides a lot of ideas about like humanity and who is human or who deserves rights based on what, and it has a bunch of just like commentaries on aspects of the world that are just terrible. Like one of the commentaries I enjoyed was they have these characters who are fighting against the AI, and they just view the AI as like soulless beings, and they just never consider that they're like could be potentially like have all the same things that these humans have, like they love, they care for their family, they want to see other people grow, stuff like that. They just never consider any of that, and then they kind of slowly in the story a little bit, they kind of reveal it a little bit. Um, and so like it's just very comedic. It's kind of jabbing that archetype of uh, militia and just have it being soulless and killing anyone just because you're told. So yeah, the creator is great. Sonatine is a Yakuza movie with Takeshi Kitano, who's a famous Japanese actor, I believe. I don't know his other accolades, but I know he has a lot of them. Um, I know him from acting. This movie is really good because it's just this Yakuza organization is just in a terrible situation, and they're trying to get out of it, but they can't really, and so it just goes through the story at like this hopelessness of just like you're just up against something so large. There's nothing you can do really to like cope with it, but these Yakuza members find ways to cope, and that is really interesting. And it was very what's the word, like encouraging to me specifically, because I've felt trapped in a lot of areas in my life. So them being able to find like this literal life or death situation where they're able to find like a little bit of solace in it is really interesting and really good storytelling and writing. Love Exposure. This is an extremely like lewd Japanese movie, I'd say. Um, the reason I like it so much is because I feel like a lot of it relates to me. Um, like the main character uh, is like grapples with his like horniness basically, or like sexual like differences, or like sex like how like taboos and things you can't do, and breaking out of those because they're just like, what is the reason for the taboo? Like there is no real reason um, other than like constructs that can be broken down, but certain like religious people just don't break those constructs down, so you just never like grow as a person. And so it's this kid growing through all of that, and it's really really entertaining and engaging. Good story. The Matrix. Uh, what is real? How do you define real? The Matrix, high concepts. You are in a simulation. In order to escape, you have to take a leap of faith. That's basically summarized of the Matrix. Um, just it has cool action. It has cool characters as well. I really like the characters in this movie. I recommend it. Predestination. This is a pretty high concept movie. The premise is that, how do I explain this? there's a bunch of characters that are in this time loop that they interact with each other, uh, and it goes through like this timeline of these characters doing things that influence the other characters, and all these characters are weaved together in this timeline of events, and by the end you'll understand what like what the purpose of this whole like all of these people doing this thing is, what the significance of these different people are, stuff like that. And the reveal is amazing. Like it's so good. Um, and it's just a really good movie, I think. So I recommend it. The Ocean series. So Ocean's 11, Ocean's 12, Ocean's 13. I think 12 is my least favorite because the robbery is very confusing um, and not really portrayed extremely stylishly, I would say. The movie still is very stylish and engaging, but I just think the final robbery is lackluster. But Ocean's 13 and Ocean's 11 are really good. All the movies have a great style. Like they're all very stylish, whether that's their dialogue or their costumes, their fashion, just their their beats, like where they like get they tell you what's going on and what you need to know in order for the next scene and stuff like that. Like they have a bunch of clips in between where they develop characters, they develop the setting, stuff like that. It's really engaging and it's really good for rewatching, which is why I rewatch it so much because it's extremely entertaining. My Own Private Idaho. This was recommended to me and or not recommended, but showed to me and I really enjoyed it. This is a movie that's that's pretty much covers very well helplessness and like breaking out of a lot of social constructs that don't really make sense, but the characters are really well written and they have really stylish like things about them, like writing wise, not stylish. Like the main character is a gay prostitute and he has narcolepsy, and all of those are like weaved very well into the story. And he has a friend who is a prostitute with him, and the reasons he is like sinning is kind of like in Love Exposure, where he wants to upset his people that he hates, so he is doing this as an outlet for that. And all these characters are really well written, they develop them really well, and the end is very like the ending kind of wraps up all the characters well, and I recommend it. Six Underground. This is a really good action movie. The writing is amazing. The writing is the best part about this movie, I would say. It's characters who kill themselves in real life, but they don't actually die. They fake their deaths. And the reason they do this is because they want to hunt down the evil people of the world that are actually evil, that governments will not take any action against because of like legal reasons or monetary reasons or whatever. These people are on a hunt for those people, and I think that idea is amazing. And it's really entertaining and engaging, and the characters are good, and there's a bunch of good moments in the movie that are, I think it's just a all-around very good movie, I would say. Dead Leaves. This is an anime movie. It's an OVA one shot. It's like 40 minutes. It's is extremely bombastic and extremely loud. It's also very shaky. Like the art is very bombastic, I would say. It's fast paced, stuff like that. the characters are really interesting, but mostly it's the world that's interesting and how the characters are there, and they slowly figure out why they're there while stuff is happening, so it's engaging, and it never like drops a beat. It's just all around a very entertaining and engaging movie. Tomorrowland. This is a movie I enjoy because of the idea of Tomorrowland and like Disney, which is a bunch of people, the get together, the best, not the best, the most skilled in these areas of like the most skilled scientists, the most skilled biologists, the most skilled aeronautics people, the most skilled space people. If they all got together in like this city, what would happen? And if they were like all altruistic as well, what would happen? And it kind of develops that idea, and from a distant perspective, like this character figures out that this place exists and wants to get there, so it's an adventure to get there, and that is how it takes place in the narrative, and I think that is really engaging in and of itself, as opposed to the idea of Tomorrowland as well. So I think it's a good movie, and I enjoy it. Rogue One. This movie is great, I think, because of the story and the story writing. It's the best Star Wars movie, but a lot of things wouldn't make sense if you haven't watched the other Star Wars movies, so I'm not sure if I would recommend this one first, which I might, or later, because the ending has a bunch of like very impactful things if you know characters in the other stories. But yeah, I think this movie is great. It's a great story, great atmosphere, really well written. Shirkers. This is a really interesting movie because it's about a Filipino film filmed by teenagers, and it's a documentary about the film, about their time making the film, and how their film got stolen by the director, or like not the director, but yeah, it was the director, yeah. The director stole the films that these teens had worked super hard on this movie for, and it's like tracking him down and like understanding this weird archetype, or this weird character of like an actual person who is just extremely unusual. And that part is interesting, but also mostly what's interesting to me is the movie itself that they made, because it's very like no plot. Basically, I want to make a movie that in the future that will, if I've made that movie, it will be in the link in the description, but it will be a while before I make this movie, where it's taking a lot of the ideas from the movie that they filmed in Shirkers, where there's this teenage assassin who uses a gun to shoot and kill people, like a finger gun, and she has to kill like certain targets, or else like something and it's not really explained what happens or why she needs to do this or whatever. It's kind of implied that it's like a dream, like none of it is really material, none of it really matters either. And the movie, that movie is mostly that plot is mostly just a conduit for showing off Singapore and like different characters that you might find in like a Singapore type setting, just like as like an indie film kind of. So I want to take the main concept and expand upon it, and it's a good movie, so I recommend. White Noise. This is the epitome of this movie. Is nothing matters and it's okay. That's pretty much a bunch of stuff happens, a bunch of wacky stuff happens. I watched it not knowing that like not like the thing nothing matters but it's okay, with my brother, and we were just laughing the whole time because we were like, what's happening? Why is this happening? They're not really explaining anything in depth. They're just keeping the viewer just confused, and we were just like, this movie is insane. And then when it got to the end, we realized like, oh, it's like a meta commentary on like how like nothing matters in life other than like your relationships, and that's okay. And just it's amazing because it's just like funny in that aspect and like engaging as well. So I recommend it. Captain EO. This is a film with Michael Jackson. Uh, that's like sci-fi and it's short, I believe. It's like I don't think it's longer than 40 minutes, probably shorter. Um, it's a sci-fi like movie. It was at an attraction. It was like a ride, like where you watch it in like 4D in like Disney World or something, which is where I saw this movie. But it is great. It's got good music because it's Michael Jackson music. It's a cool atmosphere, which is mostly the appeal to it to me. And uh, yeah, it's cool. It's a cool atmosphere, cool style, cool stuff. Tag, the Japanese film, not the American film. Um, it this one is a very surreal movie, like, or not surreal, but like dreamlike as well. It's like what's happening, a bunch of weird stuff happens, you don't know what's going on, you're trying to figure out what is going on. The characters are interesting, they're well written, it's stylish, they go over a bunch of interesting commentary points about different aspects of media, and it's just a really good movie, I would say. Very entertaining, engaging, stylish. Your Name is an anime movie with a cool twist and a cool ending. I recommend it. Um, all the Tarantino movies are entertaining and engaging. I don't really have one that I like. Actually, I do. I like Inglorious Bastards, but pretty much all of them are really good. Like Django Unchained is insanely good. Like insanely good. It's a revenge movie and it's insanely good. Uh, Pulp Fiction is kind of high concept, is really entertaining. It follows three different stories and they kind of converge all together, but kind of separately, and it's engaging. Hateful Eight is like a murder mystery with interesting characters and interesting developments as you learn more about the characters, and they have tie-ins to the other characters. Just a lot of the movies are good. Wall-E. This used to be my favorite movie for the longest time. Insanely good movie. I'll just leave it at that because I feel like I don't know how to explain this movie other than like it's a good atmosphere. Really entertaining characters, and the setting is extremely engaging and like interesting to think about. Zootopia, another great movie. This one, I like the characters a lot. The characters are really good. The atmosphere is also really good. I would say those two things carry this movie the hardest. Well, and the narrative. The narrative is like a mystery that they're trying to solve, and just all three of those are just very, very good, and so I recommend this movie quite a bit. Constantine. This is a movie with a like religious. It's like a religious superhero movie, kind of. Religious being Catholicism. Basically, they have a bunch of Catholicism themes, and they are hunting down the son of Satan called Mammon, and he has entered the human world, and Constantine is like not a priest, but he can exorcise demons, and so he's like a demon hunter, and they're trying to figure out how to find Mammon and how to stop him. And Constantine is trying to figure out how to get into heaven because he doesn't really understand how. He thinks that if he demon hunts, then he will be obligated to get into heaven because he's done so much for like the cause, but it's not about that in Catholicism, and he slowly figures that out. And then does a cool gambit at the end to like try to say like get into heaven. 3,000 Years of Longing. This is a good movie because it's just a huge story time that follows a genie and the many times a genie has been summoned and how the summons didn't actually pan out, and just all the different stories are really interesting, and it's just a bunch of story times and it's good. Speed Racer. This is like an anime live action movie basically. It's really good on like style, and it's very entertaining and engaging. I recommend it. It's also has a bunch of cool racing stuff because it's like racing, but they fight with the cars as well, and so there's tons of cool scenes, tons of cool CG, uh, good music. Like it's really cool. Destruction Babies. This movie, the reason I found it was because my favorite band's frontman made music for this movie. Um, and so I watched this movie, and it's actually really good. It's just basically the whole movie is like one big brawl. This character is just fighting every single person they come in contact with, and that in and of itself is just an interesting movie. I think it's just very interesting, so I recommend it. Monty Python and the Holy Grail, really funny, interesting movie, and I believe it's a cult classic. It's definitely something to watch, I would say. Grand Budapest Hotel. I have found myself watching this quite a few times. It's like a weird movie, and it's kind of comedic, but it's mostly weird, I would say, and it's really interesting as a movie. Baby Driver, really good movie as a story, and like the character and certain character traits that the characters have are interesting, and I enjoyed it. It's about a getaway driver who doesn't speak really, and it's interesting. Ready Player One is a VR type movie that is really engaging and has a ton of pop culture references, so it's really interesting to rewatch because of all the things that are going on, but mostly the high concept idea of this VR world, which does exist kind of in VR chat, which is really cool, and I really like watching this movie in VR chat. It's very fun. Some shows I'm going to recommend that I like. Death Note, I think, is really good, like an insanely good anime. Go watch it if you haven't seen it. Paranoia Agent is my favorite anime. I think it's extremely weird, and basically the whole anime is about this one idea of just like how humans find like just the disconnect between things humans say, like lies and deception. It has tons of themes of those, like lies and deception, and just mistrust amongst humans. And I just thought it was very cathartic because I feel very much like I can't trust really anyone because they're all like thinking, like I have a bunch of distrust. Like I will go over this a lot more in detail in a video on like my life probably, but yeah, it was really cathartic, and it's really stylish as well. It has like a weird like 2000s TV aesthetic, like Persona type vibe, and all the songs are kind of Persona-y as well. Very interesting anime. Kill la Kill. I like Kill la Kill because of the atmosphere, and the characters are pretty comedic and engaging, and also fan service is good, but it's whatever to me. It's not like really an appeal. It's okay, but it's not really an appeal to me. The action is also pretty whatever. Like I'm not super into the action. It does look cool, but it's okay. It's whatever. The main appeals for this to me is the setting, and it's like a class system where at the highest point there is like the high class, and there's a school there where they train like these fighting students to fight, and they have these uniforms that give them like enhanced abilities, and so the main character's on a revenge arc, so they're like boss rushing basically through a bunch of people, and they're also trying to like not be late to school and stuff. So I think this anime is really interesting, up to and beyond the tournament arc. The tournament arc, I think, is the worst part about this because it's really slow, but it's okay. It's engaging, but it's mostly about just like action stuff, and it's not for me really. Promised Neverland. It's a really good anime that has a really good story where a bunch of kids are in this like not nursing. It's like a nursery, or not a nursery, but a bunch of kids are being raised by this caretaker woman who is extremely skilled in keeping them in the house and not letting them wander past a certain point beyond the house, which is revealed that these these kids, whenever they graduate and they get adopted, they are going to better families. But what's actually happening is they're being harvested, like wagyu cows are harvested, and they take like tests because the higher their test scores, the more developed their brain is, and so the buyers of the like are demons, and they like the taste of brains and just like humans. So they literally have a human harvest farm, and these kids are trying to escape against like insane odds, and that's a good hook for this anime, and it's really good. It tells the story well. Arcane. I don't really know how to advertise this because I will say, okay, I know. The main thing I like about this is the character of Jinx. Uh, they develop her to be like, she makes a bunch of mistakes in the series that she doesn't really grapple with or confront, but they haunt her because they're so devastating, and that is the main appeal of this series, is Jinx and Vi's relationship, which is her sister, Jinx's sister, relationship to her sister, Jinx, and how they both feel bad for like different reasons. Vi feels bad for shunning Jinx into like this weird state where Jinx feels like extremely guilty, but doesn't cope with it well, and just wants to like destroy everything because she doesn't see the point of really anything. And then there's this whole political sub commentary where like the factions are trying to keep in order the slums, and the slums are becoming really powerful, and so like there's this dissonance there, and a bunch of important characters die, and it's really engaging and entertaining. I recommend it. Stranger Things is like an 80s mystery aesthetic type show, and it's really engaging and entertaining. I would say this is probably one of the most entertaining shows I've watched. It's just straight, very engaging throughout pretty much all the episodes. All the seasons are pretty engaging. I'd say it deviates a lot on like the styles, but mostly it sticks to archetypes of like 80s movies. So I would say it's really entertaining and engaging. Even the seasons that I would say fall short a little bit are still entertaining at the very least. So I would recommend this. And that is it. If you'd like to see more recommendations for games or music or YouTube videos, I have all of those videos linked in this video probably that you can go check. And if they're not there, they'll be uploaded whenever I finish making them. So yeah. Thank you for watching.